Now, I'm not really a beginner. I shoot corporate events, documentaries, sports, all sorts of things, you name it. But I did want a camera that I could carry with me all the time as an EDC. I settled on this one, and I'm going to tell you why. Basically, my thought process behind the A6700 is that I wanted something pocketable, that I wanted something that had good video specs, good photo specs, and maybe even a flip-out screen for if I wanted to do any vlogs or any talking head kind of things and I just needed to whip this up and be able to look at myself. This camera is great. It has an EVF for photography. It has a touch screen. It has incredible autofocus. I'm a huge Sony fan, so I will be a little bit biased, but it has amazing autofocus. It has 10-bit color if you do want to get into color grading. It uses the big Sony batteries, not the little Tic Tacs, the big ones. So that means that you do not have to charge every 2 seconds. And all the other Sony beginner cameras, you have to charge every 2 seconds. So this is, you don't have to do that. It's fantastic. I had also taken a look at the ZV-1 and the ZV-2 because those are introduced as like fixed lens, just vlog type cameras, because I wanted, I was looking at everyday carry cameras specifically. But the reason that I went with the A6700 over the ZV-1 and the ZV-E was the 10-bit color, the ability to have an EVF, which, to be quite honest with you, people harp on the EVF, but I never really use it when I take photos, and I take a lot of photos. So I think it's a nice to have, but not a need to have. The main reason I got it was the 10-bit and the fact that it didn't have rolling shutter. That did seem like a total downside. And for example, the CVE 10 is, I believe, around $1,000. So for $200 more, you get a much better camera. This combination of this camera and this lens is about, I want to say like $1,400, maybe a little bit less, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. But I'd also pair this with some sort of zoom lens, maybe the Sigma 18 to 50, and you're off to the races. That is a fantastic beginner setup. I would say for around the $1,500 mark, dependent on like what lens you need, this is a great setup. You can shoot video, you can shoot photo. The one thing is that it's not full frame, which if you're really shooting a lot of video, I would recommend full frame, because if you're shooting a wedding, say, like you really want to be able to crank up your shutter and or crank up your ISO and not have a ton of grain. But it has performed relatively well in low light. Like, it's honestly not been that bad. It's relatively cheap too, that I don't feel like it's my baby and I can't like toss it around and stuff, which my other cameras I do tend to feel that way. Or I tend to feel like, oh, somebody's gonna like rob me on the street. And I kind of don't feel that like, I know that's like an anxiety or something, but I don't feel that with this setup, because I have other more expensive setups and they're at home. So if somebody was to like take this from me, I don't feel like, oh my God, I just lost my baby. So yeah, I think it's an excellent choice for a beginner. The alternative is there's other camera systems, which I do have a video talking about the best beginner cameras here, if you want to take a look at that. But I really feel like it's worth it to stretch your budget just a little bit for the A6700. It also has a lot of cool features, like you can film yourself and the camera kind of tracks you, which I personally probably wouldn't use that much, but I think some more like vlogger style people might. If this camera is way too intimidating for you, then the CV-1 that has a fixed lens, it might be a cool option. It has built-in ND and a bunch of other things, and it might be like, because I know people recommend the phone, and I was recommending the phone a lot, but what I realized with the phone is that, one, I feel insecure about having my phone out like filming something, because I feel like if it got snatched, it's not just my phone, it's my bank account and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm not too keen on just having the phone out and doing weird things with the phone. So if this camera is too intimidating for you, then maybe I'd look into like the ZV-1. Now I know that you guys might be like, hey, there's other brands and there's other things, and yes, there is. In this video, I discussed that. But I think with Sony, you get a great bang for your buck as a beginner. With this guy too, you can put a bunch of vintage lenses on it, and you can just go to a thrift store and just try different things, and the camera is like, it has great dynamic range and stuff. The one part where you might struggle a bit is on low light scenarios, but if you're just starting out, like, you're just, for the price, this is such a great piece of equipment. that I can't even like recommend anything else. I think it's a great beginner camera, and even if you're not a beginner and you just want something smaller that you want to travel with and stuff, I think it's a great option. That's my review. I don't pixel peek. I don't like pixel peeping, so I just talk about how I feel. There's going to be no charts where we're zooming in and I'm talking about the different pixels and stuff. It's just not happening. So if you were looking for that kind of review, it's not happening here.